Have you ever felt a sudden, painful disconnection from someone you loved, only to realize later that your soul felt lighter the moment they walked away? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into a message that is both heavy and liberating. The divine necessity of the goodbye. As chosen ones, your path is not like everyone else's, and the transitions you experience are rarely accidental. God has spoken, and that specific exit you've been mourning was actually a rescue mission. In this session, you are going to learn exactly why your circle is shrinking, how to identify the difference between a loss and a liberation, and how to stop fighting for a seat at tables that were never meant for your spirit. By the end of this video, you will have the clarity to stop looking back, and the strength to start walking toward the destiny that is waiting for you. Get ready, because everything is about to make sense. Divine intervention often manifests as a sudden disruption in your life that feels chaotic, but is actually a calculated move by the Creator to shift your trajectory. When you are being prepared for a higher calling, the universe will remove distractions that you were too emotionally attached to release on your own. It is a forced redirection that ensures you stay on the path designated for your spirit, preventing you from settling for a life that is beneath your true potential. Sometimes God has to close doors that you would have kept trying to pry open despite the pain they caused you. These exits aren't punishments. They are strategic removals of people or situations that were secretly draining your energy or leading you toward a spiritual dead end. By taking the choice out of your hands, the divine is providing you with a shortcut to your destiny, sparing you years of unnecessary struggle and stagnation. There is a specific frequency required for the next level of your life, and those who cannot vibrate at that level will naturally be phased out through divine orchestration. You might feel a sense of confusion or abandonment, but this is simply the spiritual environment being sanitized for your growth. The isolation that follows is not a sign of rejection, but a sign of consecration, as you are being set apart for a specific work that requires total focus. Watching a bridge burn can be terrifying, but often it is the only way to ensure you never turn back to a place you've outgrown. Divine intervention acts as the fire that destroys the path to your past, forcing you to look forward and trust the unseen guidance leading you. This necessary goodbye serves as a seal, marking the end of an old cycle and the definitive beginning of a version of yourself that can no longer exist in the presence of low vibrational influences. The peace that eventually follows a divine intervention is the ultimate proof that the goodbye was sanctioned by the Spirit. While the initial break may be jarring, the subsequent clarity and internal stillness confirm that you are being protected from a future of compromise. This is the moment you realize that the Creator loves you enough to hurt your feelings in order to save your soul, moving the pieces of your life like a master strategist to ensure your ultimate victory. Pruning is a painful but essential process where the Creator cuts away the dead or overgrown parts of your life to ensure your energy is directed toward what actually bears fruit. Just as a gardener removes healthy-looking branches to save the tree's core strength, God removes relationships and opportunities that look good on the surface, but are actually hindering your expansion. This cutting back is a sign of your value, proving that you are worth the effort required to make you flourish more abundantly. Understanding that subtraction is a form of spiritual addition allows you to view your losses through the lens of long-term gain. When you lose something you thought was vital, you are actually gaining the space necessary to receive something much larger and more aligned with your purpose. Every void created by a goodbye is a container waiting to be filled with a higher level of blessing, wisdom, and connection that you wouldn't have had room for before. The process of pruning targets the suckers, the people and habits that draw life from you without contributing anything to your growth. These elements may have been part of your life for a long time, making the separation feel like a loss of identity. but their removal is what allows your authentic self to finally bloom. By stripping away these leeches, the divine ensures that your resources, time, and emotional labor are finally being invested in your own divine mission. Growth is impossible in an environment of overcrowding, and pruning creates the necessary air and light for your spirit to breathe. When God prunes your circle, He is removing the canopy of other people's opinions and expectations that were blocking your direct access to divine sunlight. This allows you to stand tall in your own truth, unburdened by the weight of keeping others happy at the expense of your own spiritual health and mental clarity. Ultimately, pruning is the preparation for a season of unprecedented harvest that requires a stronger, leaner version of you. You cannot produce the fruit of the Spirit while carrying the rot of the past, so the pruning must be deep and thorough. While it may feel like you are being stripped bare, you are actually being refined into a powerhouse of purpose, ensuring that when your season of abundance arrives, you have the strength and the structure to sustain it. Being a chosen one comes with a heavy spiritual weight that naturally dictates the size of your social circle. Because your path is tied to a specific mission, you cannot afford to carry the baggage of those who do not understand your assignment. This weight acts as a natural filter, making it impossible to maintain superficial connections that lack the depth and integrity your spirit demands. The more you step into your power, the more apparent it becomes that you are built for a solitary climb rather than a crowded walk. The calling on your life requires a level of focus and purity that most people find uncomfortable or even threatening. This internal gravity pulls you away from the noise of the crowd and into a space of reflection and discipline. You aren't being antisocial. You are being protective of the divine energy entrusted to you. The weight of your purpose creates a boundary that only those with equal or compatible frequencies can cross, leading to a life that is intentionally streamlined and focused. Walking a unique path means you often face battles that others aren't equipped to fight alongside you. If you were surrounded by a large, unaligned circle, their lack of spiritual armor would become a liability during your moments of testing. The narrowness of your path is a structural necessity designed to keep you agile and unencumbered. You carry the responsibility of a lineage or a spiritual shift, and that responsibility demands that every person in your life serves a specific constructive role. As you mature in your calling, the tolerance you once had for drama, gossip, and low-vibrational living completely disappears. The weight of your destiny makes these distractions feel physically and mentally exhausting, forcing you to choose peace over popularity. This shift isn't about arrogance. It's about survival and stewardship. You realize that your time and energy are the currency of your calling, and you can no longer afford to spend them on people who do not respect the sanctity of your journey. Accepting the weight of the calling means embracing the reality that leadership and spiritual depth are often lonely at the top. You are being refined to stand as a pillar, and a pillar must be grounded in its own strength before it can support anything else. The smallness of your circle is a testament to the magnitude of your work. By carrying this weight with honor, you allow the divine to replace quantity with quality, surrounding you only with the few who are truly meant to witness your transformation. Protection often arrives in the form of a painful exit, acting as a divine shield against a future you cannot yet see. When a relationship or opportunity is abruptly severed, it is frequently because the Creator has seen the hidden agendas and potential betrayals that were brewing behind the scenes. You might be mourning a loss, but in the spiritual realm, you are being celebrated for a narrow escape. This goodbye is the physical manifestation of a spiritual intervention designed to keep your heart and your future intact. The human perspective is limited to the present moment and the immediate past, but the divine operates with a complete view of the timeline. Often, God removes people from your life not because of who they were when you met them, but because of who they would have become in your future. By ending the connection now, you are being spared from a deeper, more devastating betrayal later on. This is the ultimate act of love, a preemptive strike against the enemy's plans to derail your progress. There are certain environments and people that act as slow-acting poison to your spiritual health. And sometimes you are too close to the situation to notice the toxicity. A forced goodbye serves as an emergency evacuation from a burning building you didn't even know was on fire. While you may feel the sting of the smoke, the reality is that you are being moved to higher ground where the air is clear. This protection ensures that your spirit remains untainted by the hidden rot of your surroundings. Trusting the goodbye means acknowledging that you don't always have the full story, and you don't need it to be safe. If someone was removed from your life, it is because their role in your story was finished, and staying longer would have only led to friction and stagnation. The divine sees the conversations you aren't a part of and the intentions you cannot read. Every door that is slammed shut in your face is a barrier between you and a version of reality that would have eventually broken you. Ultimately, the pain of a necessary goodbye is far less than the pain of a missed destiny. When you are shielded from the wrong people, you are being preserved for the right ones. The divine no is always a setup for a much greater yes that aligns with your highest good. By accepting this protection without bitterness, you demonstrate the faith required to be led into a season of total security. Knowing that nothing meant for you can ever be truly lost, and anything lost was never truly yours. Breaking a soul tie is the essential process of reclaiming the fragments of your spirit that were left behind in toxic or expired relationships. When you walk away from a necessary goodbye, you are not just leaving a person. You are severing an invisible energetic cord that has kept you anchored to a lower version of yourself. This separation allows you to pull your energy back into your own center, ending the spiritual leakage that has kept you feeling drained and confused. By cutting these ties, you stop the unconscious flow of their trauma and baggage into your life, finally allowing your soul to breathe in its own atmosphere. Releasing the energy of the past is an act of self-sovereignty that signals to the universe you are ready for a higher level of intimacy and purpose. Often we hold on to soul ties out of a fear of emptiness, but that very emptiness is the sacred space required for divine downloads. As these old connections dissolve, you may feel a temporary sense of grief, but this is simply the sensation of your spirit detaching from a density it was never meant to sustain. This release is the only way to ensure that your heart is fully available for the connections that are aligned with your own ultimate destiny. Every goodbye that God orchestrates is an invitation to close an energetic portal that was left open far too long. These portals often allow negative entities or stagnant patterns to enter your life through the people you are tied to. By sealing these exits with the blood of your resolve and the power of your spirit, you create a fortress around your peace. Breaking these ties is the final step in your liberation, ensuring that the doors behind you are locked tight so that the path ahead of you remains clear, bright, and focused on the divine light. The isolation period is a sacred transition designed to strip away the noise of the world, so you can finally hear the whisper of your own soul. When the divine removes your support systems and social circles, it is not an act of cruelty but a strategic withdrawal into the secret place. In this solitude, you are being deprogrammed from the expectations and validations of others. Forced to find your internal compass, it is here in the quiet that your true strength is forged, away from the prying eyes of those who only know you by your past. Embracing the silence that follows a necessary departure is where the most profound spiritual alchemy occurs. This period is a cocooning stage where you are undergoing a fundamental restructuring of your character and your mission. While the world may see your isolation as a sign of failure or loneliness, the Spirit sees it as a season of intense preparation. The silence is not empty. It is full of the data and instructions you need for your next level. But you can only receive them when the voices of unaligned people have been silenced. During this time of separation, you learn to become your own best company and your own most trusted advisor under God. The reliance you once had on external opinions is replaced by a deep, unwavering confidence in your intuition. This is the stage where the chosen one is vetted by the divine, tested to see if they can stand firm when no one is watching and no one is cheering. This isolation builds a spiritual grit that will be necessary when you are eventually placed in positions of high influence and responsibility. The isolation period acts as a filter that cleanses your perspective, helping you see clearly who was for you, who was against you, and who was just using you. In the heat of social interaction, discernment can be clouded by emotion. But in the cool of solitude, the truth becomes undeniable. You begin to see the patterns that led to your previous cycles, and you gain the wisdom to ensure they never repeat. This season of being alone is actually a gift of clarity, providing you with the foresight to build your next era on a foundation of truth rather than convenience. When the isolation period ends, you will emerge with a presence that is far more powerful than the one you entered with. You will have a weightiness to your spirit and a calm in your eyes that can only be earned in the wilderness. This necessary goodbye was the gateway to this transformation, proving that you are capable of surviving and thriving without the crutches you once thought were essential. You are no longer afraid of being alone, and that makes you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, for a person who is content in their own divine company cannot be manipulated or controlled. True discernment requires you to elevate your spiritual senses above your emotional reactions, especially when the divine is calling for a separation. Your heart may feel a pull toward familiarity and comfort, but your spirit knows that staying in an expired environment will only lead to stagnation. To be a chosen one is to prioritize the nudge of the Holy Spirit over the desperate cries of the ego that fears being alone. When you master this, you begin to see departures not as emotional tragedies, but as strategic movements in a much larger divine game of chess. The emotions of guilt and nostalgia are often the biggest hurdles to your evolution, as they trick you into believing that longevity equals loyalty. Just because you have a long history with someone does not mean they are meant to have a future with you. Discernment allows you to look past the shared memories and see the current fruit of the relationship, acknowledging when a connection has become a source of thorns rather than growth. By trusting the Spirit's quiet warning over the loud protests of your feelings, you protect your destiny from being sabotaged by misplaced sentimentality. Learning to trust the Spirit's nudge means being willing to be the villain in someone else's story for the sake of your own salvation. When you choose to leave based on a divine prompt, others may label you as cold, distant, or ungrateful, because they cannot see the spiritual warnings you are receiving. Discernment gives you the thick skin necessary to endure being misunderstood, knowing that your primary accountability is to the Creator, not to the social contracts of men. This clarity ensures that your path remains pure even when it is paved with difficult choices. Emotional attachment often blinds you to the red flags that the divine is waving directly in front of you. You might try to pray for someone to change or work harder to fix a broken dynamic, but discernment tells you when the grace for that situation has been lifted. When the grace is gone, no amount of effort can restore the peace that once existed. Recognizing this shift allows you to exit with dignity before the situation turns into a cycle of resentment. Preserving your energy for the people and places where the favor of God is actually flowing. Ultimately, the refinement of your discernment is what prepares you for the high-level assignments that are coming your way. You cannot lead or create at a world-class level if you are still easily manipulated by your own empathy or the emotional demands of unaligned people. This necessary goodbye was a test of your spiritual hearing, a check to see if you would follow the shepherd's voice even when it leads away from the crowd. By choosing the spirit over your emotions, you prove that you are ready to handle the weight of the truth and the responsibility of your calling. Alignment is the spiritual synchronization of your life with your purpose, and it often requires the sacrifice of attachments that no longer serve your growth. You may be deeply attached to a person, a job, or a lifestyle. But if that attachment is out of alignment with where you are going, it will eventually become an anchor. The divine process of separation is designed to break these unhealthy bonds, forcing you to choose between the comfort of the known and the potential of the promised land. You must realize that your destiny is non-negotiable, and anyone who cannot respect the requirements of your path cannot walk it with you. The reason you cannot carry everyone into your next season is that their frequency might disrupt the delicate balance required for your elevation. Every person you allow into your inner circle brings an energy that either feeds your vision or drains it. If someone is stuck in a mindset of lack, drama, or stagnation, their presence will act as a ceiling to your spiritual expansion. Alignment demands that you surround yourself with individuals who not only celebrate your growth but also possess the spiritual maturity to handle the version of you that is currently emerging. Attachment often stems from a fear of loss, while alignment stems from a faith in divine provision. When you are overly attached to people, you become a slave to their opinions and their presence, losing sight of your own God-given identity. Moving into alignment requires you to release the grip you have on your current reality so that your hands are free to catch what is coming next. This transition is rarely easy, as it involves letting go of the good to make room for the great, but it is the only way to live a life that is truly in sync with the heavens. There is a specific architecture to your purpose that only allows for certain people to fit into the structure. As you build the life you were meant to lead, you will find that some individuals are like scaffolding. They were necessary for the construction phase, but they are not meant to be part of the finished building. Refusing to let go of these temporary supports will only obscure the beauty of what has been created. Recognizing the difference between a permanent pillar and a temporary support is the key to maintaining a life that is both functional and spiritually aligned. The ultimate goal of choosing alignment over attachment is to reach a state where your external world is a perfect reflection of your internal growth. When you are properly aligned, the right opportunities and people flow to you with ease, and the friction of the past disappears. This necessary goodbye was the final act of clearing the clutter, ensuring that every piece of your life is now contributing to your ultimate mission. You are no longer trying to fit square pegs into round holes. You are walking in a state of grace where every connection is a catalyst for your highest calling. This journey of letting go is never easy, but it is the most sacred step you will ever take toward your true self. Remember, when God asks you to say goodbye, He isn't taking something away. He is clearing the path for what He has already prepared for you. You were chosen for this specific path because you have the strength to carry the light, even when the road gets quiet. Trust the process, embrace the silence, and know that your elevation requires this separation. I want to hear from you now. What was the biggest realization you had during this video? Which of these points hit home for your current situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. To show that you stayed until the very end and to help this message reach more chosen ones who need this clarity, type the word protection in the comments. It helps the algorithm push this out to those who are currently struggling with a difficult goodbye. As the saying goes, when God ruins your plans, He is usually ruining them before they ruin you. Stay strong, stay aligned, and keep walking in your purpose. I'll see you in the next one.